If I was a nasty person, I'd name her right now. But it's not important. Jezebel's spirit, because our battle is not against flesh and blood. Long story short, I walked out of Springfield Medical Center for federal prisoners with no cuffs on, with 11 and a half years remaining on my sentence. And I was able to lead either 2 or 3 people to Christ on the bus. Some of them were coming out of the psychiatric unit, and they were sending them somewhere else. And I would give them coffee. Coffee. Cast demons out of them because I had full liberty. No cuffs on, no shackles. And I left there in the freedom. See, because great favor results in great persecution. But it also results in great favor. And you'll experience both at the same time. If you think you're being persecuted for righteousness, I can tell you whether you are, because great favor will be on you in the midst of it. And if you got great favor and there's no persecution, I question that too. Because they come side by side. Springfield Medical Center, the revival kicked off. The power of God fell. And God spoke to me as I was getting the left foot of fellowship from that facility. I said, Lord, where am I going? He said, Waseca. I said, is that Kentucky? He didn't respond. I said, why Waseca? He said, because I have need of you there. The male chaplain came by. He said, it's terrible. She's divided the church. I said, she's coming after you next, sir. I said, let me tell you the word of the Lord. I said, put your hands through the beanhole. Let me pray for you. So the prisoner was praying for the chaplain. And he didn't insulate me from the wiles of the enemy through her. So now he had to go through it next. Don't think because somebody's on the front line under your authority that if you don't try to insulate them and protect them or stand with them, that after they're knocked off, they get promoted, but now it's your turn. You might as well stand with them now. Otherwise, you'll be standing without them alone when you go through it next. And I blessed him. I said, you go give so-and-so this message. And when you give him that message, everybody will come back to church. That's the word of the Lord. He walked back. He found that inmate, called him. He spoke what I spoke. Everybody came back to church in a day. I said, if they leave because they've sided with me or because they've sided with her, we've lost. If they stay regardless and not forsake the assembling of themselves together, the Lord is one. And God will sort it out. I said, don't tell them to side with me or her. Tell them to side with Christ. And forsake not the assembling of themselves together, as is the manner of some, but encourage one another more as the day approaches. I said, chaplain, I'm going to Waseca. He says, oh no, you're going to Sandstone. I said, I've heard the word of the Lord. He knew after I left I'd heard the word of the Lord. And he also knew when the attacks came. I also had heard the word of the Lord. And I prayed for him. When I got to the next facility, that chaplain chased me on the internet, and she would send nasty things. She chased me for 3 more facilities, tried to dismantle our prison ministry that now reaches 1,000 prisons, state and federal, 18 internationally. Heart of America Prison Ministries, changing lives, one Bible at a time. I got into prison ministry from the inside out. You don't have to do it that way. But if you're called, he'll make a way for you. Are you coming willingly? Anyway, when we got there to the next facility, there was 400 inmates on the compound. Before I left, there was 1,150. And the chapel was the most happening place on the compound. And the power of God. Muslims were getting healed of back problems. All kinds of healings were taking place. And I went through some wonderful persecution there from the chaplain. And when I spoke into his life, I said, I've heard a lot of things about you, sir. But I've told them, I don't care what anyone else says about you.